Hi everyone, welcome back to another video in the Web Security Academy series. In today's video, we'll be covering lab number 5 in the clickjacking module titled Multi-Step Clickjacking. If you do not have an account on the Web Security Academy, you can get one by visiting the URL portswigger.net/websecurity and clicking on the sign up button. I already have an account and I am logged in, so to access the exercise, I'm going to click on Academy. Select all labs. Do a search on clickjacking labs, and then select lab number 5 titled Multi-Step Clickjacking. Alright, let's get started. This lab has some account functionality that is protected by a CSRF token and also has a confirmation dialog to protect against clickjacking. To solve this lab, construct an attack that fools the user into clicking the delete account button and the confirmation dialog by clicking on Click Me First and Click Me Next decoy actions. You will need to use two elements for this lab. You can log into the account yourself using the following credentials, and we're giving credentials of a regular user account. Alright, so the target goal over here is to perform a multi-step clickjacking attack to get the user to delete their account. Let's access the lab. Now notice over here, this is the built-in browser in Burp, and so all my requests are already being passed in my Burp proxy. Okay, the first thing to do is log into the account that we were given. So the password was Peter, hit login. And let's try and update the email address just to understand how that functionality works. So let's update it to test.test.ca and then click on update email. And it allows us to update the email address. And now let's see how delete account works. Okay, so interesting. So when you delete an account, it doesn't automatically delete the account. It asks you if you're sure that you want to delete the account, and if you are, you click on the yes button. I'm not going to click on the yes button because I would have to wait until the lab regenerates before I have a new account on the lab. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try and see if this is vulnerable to clickjacking. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the exploit server and see if we could frame the application. So we'll add an iframe right over here. The source of the iframe would just be the main application. So let's copy this, paste it in here, and then close our iframe. Let's view exploit to see if the application allows itself to be framed, and it does. So this is definitely vulnerable to clickjacking. Now this looks awful, and if the user gets this link, they'll know that it's malicious. And so we're going to go back and make it look a little bit prettier. So we'll use the style element for that. And we'll say for the iframe element, I want you to apply all these rules on it. So the position is relative. The width is, let's say, 1,000. This could be anything. The height, again, let's say 1,000. And then for opacity, this ideally should be completely invisible, but before I make it invisible, I need to make sure that my decoy website perfectly overlaps the real application. And so I'm going to say 0.5 just so that I can still see the main application. And then the Z index has to be 2 because the decoy website has to overlap the legitimate application. And so we set it to 2 for this one, and then the decoy website would be set to 1. So let's view exploit over here. This looks much better. So now we need to create a decoy website that has a click me first string that overlaps the delete account button. And then after that, we need to create another string that overlaps the yes, are you sure you want to delete your account? So let's go back and add the first div element. So we'll say this has a class called first click. And we'll say click me first, so that's the string that's going to appear. And we need to style it as well. So we'll say for the class dot first click, let's say the position is absolute top is, let's say, 300 pixels. We'll likely need to change that depending on whether it overlaps or not. Left, we'll keep that at 50. That has worked for previous labs. And then Z index is equal to 1 because we needed to overlap the legitimate application. So if we click on view website right over here, this is not good. So you could see over here, click me first is not even in our iframe. So something is wrong. And it's our position element that was spelled incorrectly. So if we view exploit over here, you could see this is much better. So we need this to go way down so that it overlaps the delete account button. So let's change that to, let's say, 515. Again, we might need to change that. View exploit. It's a little bit too high, so let's say 530. Let's view exploit again. Still too high. Let's say 540. Still a little bit too high. It might work with that, but I'm just gonna put at 550 just in case. Okay, and this is perfect. So when you click on it, you're actually clicking on the delete account button. So if you click over here, it presents you with this page over here. So what we want to do is add another string over here that overlaps the yes button. So let's go back and go back over here and add another div element. This time we'll name the class second click. And we'll say click me next. This looks good. Now we need to style this one. So this will be styled really similar to this one. So I'll just copy this, paste it in here, and call this second click. And then for this one, let's say 310. And then the left definitely is not 50. It would be, let's say, around 200. And again, we'll change it depending on how it looks when you view the exploit. So we're clicking this one first. And actually, this perfectly overlapped for the first time. So this looks good. Now, when the user obtains this link, they'll know that it's malicious because they could see the legitimate application in the background. So what we want to do is change the opacity to make it almost invisible. So let's say 0.00001. And then view the exploit over here, and here we go. So this is what the user sees. Essentially, the user would click on the click me first button, and then they would click on the click me next button, but what they're really clicking on is the delete account and then the yes, I want to delete my account button. Of course, this does look fishy, but in a real exploit, what you would do is have some kind of gamified version for the user where they have to select the buttons in order. And so the user thinks that they're playing a game, but really what they're doing is deleting their account in the application. And so let's go back. Let's copy this entire thing over here. Let's paste it in here. Save it, and I'll add the link to this HTML document in the description of the video. And then let's deliver the exploit to the victim. And we wait to see if we get the congratulations, you solved the lab message, and we don't yet, which means something is wrong. So let's hit enter again, and we don't get the message. So let's make the opacity back to 0.05 and see what's wrong. So let's view exploit. So to me, this is okay. And this is definitely okay. So I'm not sure why it's not working. Let's go back. All right, so I paused the video. I tried changing the parameters to anything that I can think of, and I made sure that they overlap, but it didn't work. And so I figured the issue must have been with the lab and not with my solution. So the automated robot that they have clicking on the links was not working. And I confirmed that by viewing the access log and confirming that they're not even visiting the URL of the application. And so what I did is I paused the video, I waited for the lab to expire, and then I generated a new instance of the lab, tried my exploit again. I just changed the top dimension and the left dimension a little bit for one of my strings to make sure that it fits with the new lab. And then it worked. So now I've confirmed that the issue was not really with the exploit, but with the lab. So what I did is I saved it in an HTML document, and I'll add the link to the exploit in the description of the video. All right, so we successfully completed the exercise.